Hello everyone, it's good to see you. So it's only been about a year since Trails in the Sky first chapter released, and we already have second chapter on the horizon. I played that demo for 4.5 hours, I reached the end of the prologue, and the game just kept going. This is an even beefier demo than chapter 1's, which was already pretty long. If you do pretty much everything that's available here for you to do, and explore everywhere there is in this demo alone, you could be spending over 10 hours with this. And I wanted to give some quick impressions because I was the only one who played the demo. It's going to be a little difficult to find other people on the team or in my circle who have played Trails in the Sky going forward because you kind of need to know Chapter 1 going into Chapter 2. This is going to be as spoiler-free as possible for those that didn't play Chapter 1, but I also question why anyone would jump right into a video about Chapter 2 anyways. The footage that you're going to be seeing was all taken on the Switch version, which unfortunately does not have the Switch 2 edition available as part of the demo. Despite playing the Switch 1 version on the Switch 2, I was still very impressed with how clean the game looked. It runs very smooth and at a fairly stable 60 FPS. So this is a sequel in the most direct sense possible. This picks up right where Chapter 1 left off. The beginning of this chapter gives you a fairly wrapped up synopsis of Trails in the Sky first chapter, which means I won't be playing any of that footage here either. I'm starting to understand how and why people are so sensitive about spoilers. No, I'm not going to put footage of any other games in these videos anymore. Stop yelling at me. We essentially tie up the very last bits of first chapter before we jump into a time skip months later to see where Estelle ends up afterwards. Estelle is still our main character who has a new purpose and will begin a new journey as a senior racer, still learning the ropes and traveling from one location to the next. The world and many of the characters have already been established, and yet even so, because of how much happened in the previous game's finale, we spent about an entire hour in cutscenes, character interactions, and some new faces being introduced. We do take control of Estelle, but only very briefly before we're actually reintroduced to exploration and combat. Annalise is a new playable character that joins you for the prologue, and this is really fun to see. She was a side character who occasionally joined your party as a guest in Chapter 1, but now she's a fully playable party member. I always did think that Annalise and her group of racers just felt like they were meant for something more. That's one of the wonderful things about Trails in the Sky. The characters aren't just NPCs in the background. Like, there are so many that continuously pop up throughout the story that they make up a very believable and lived-in community. Hours into the demo, and I kept on finding more characters from the first game, whether they were NPCs that were very prominent and continuously showed up throughout the game, or more playable characters. Like, seriously, you get introduced to most of the playable characters from the first game in just the demo alone. It's just really fun to organically bump into somebody and catch up with everything that they've been up to in the last 2 months. Games like this truly make me realize how much I enjoy it when they treat characters that aren't playable as more than just background NPCs. Like, they have a purpose, they're here for a reason, and they all help drive the story in a meaningful way. And the feeling I have for this is even stronger as we seamlessly go from one chapter to the next. And that's just what this is. Like, I don't want to say this is more of the same, but there's no dramatic change to the art style or the world. If you're familiar with the towns and the pathways, then as far as the demo goes, you really are picking up right where you left off. I'm fairly sure there's going to be new locations to explore later on. For the most part, it felt like I was just playing the same game again, but with Estelle in a different outfit. But I do appreciate the commitment to consistency. At least the prologue was fairly new all around. I'm not sure if this was intentional, but the very first location where you explore and are introduced to battle with Annalise was pretty much the same underground sewery area from the first game, except this dungeon was way bigger than the first. This area was meant to tell you that because this is a sequel, you should already have a familiar grasp on battle and exploration in this game. The refresher for battle, while chatty, was very much appreciated, and that was just enough to get the rust off, especially for having been away from the game for a year. That area went on for a lot longer than I expected it to. At the very least, by the end of it, I felt like I was already back in the groove. In case you missed it, Trails in the Sky first chapter got a recent legacy patch that updated a lot of terminology to be more in line with later entries. Lines got re-recorded for pronunciation, and others were completely replaced. You see that new terminology also updated here from the get-go. They didn't need to do that, but it's really cool that they did. From what I played thus far in the demo, there hasn't really been any noticeable changes to combat. It's still the same fun and flashy turn-based combat that requires you to be very mindful of your positioning whenever attacking, or when defending, or when running away. The combat in this series has just the right amount of variety to always be exciting in every single battle. It's kind of like talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake to Rebirth. We're using the same formula for battle, but in this case, not enough has changed to really give it much more reason to talk about it. Long story short, if you're familiar with the first games, then you'll easily adapt to the sequels after not even an hour of combat. Another facet of combat that hasn't changed much are your orbments. Comparing to FF7 again, they basically function like your materia. You can really augment the stats, arts, and roles your characters play in battle, and they let you get away with a pretty high level of customization in the demo alone. Each party member has their own setup, but you're free to mess around with whatever feels more comfortable to you. Like before, each chapter tends to assign specific party members to you, rather than having you gather an accumulation of allies throughout your entire journey. So even though Annalise stuck around for the prologue, I parted ways for chapter 1. And based on what the game presented to me, I think you can branch out for chapter 1 and decide where you want to go and who you go with. I wanted to get this out sooner, so I only did one path, but that's an insane amount of content for a demo if you can do 2 completely unique chapter 1s. Funny enough, the prologue felt the most unique thus far, and they did throw some new mechanics that I didn't expect in there. There's an area that's normally too dark to traverse, but you can find and equip an accessory to see in the dark. Estelle even properly put them over her eyes while in the dark, and then lifts them back up when she's out in the lights. It's a fun detail to see. I don't recall accessories having secondary effects like this in the first game, so I'm curious to see what else they're going to add. High-speed mode returns, and it is still a marvel. I am fascinated by how this speeds up the entirety of the game, from being on field and battle to the UI and the cutscenes. It may be the fact that it's the Switch 1 version on the Switch 2 that's helping it, but there's almost no performance hiccups during. It's just a smooth experience if you can handle the speed when exploring or fighting monsters. It is still extremely useful for those very long and winding roads where you can't get to a location via quick travel. We still have that situation where some cutscenes just aren't fully voiced, or like only the first person talking in a cutscene is voiced. But looking at the list of some big-time voice actors, I can understand if the team doesn't have the budget to pay for every little line to be voiced in cutscenes. But don't worry, if it's anything like the first game, the bigger important events are always voiced. They have a pretty good understanding on what deserves that little extra something. I mentioned this already, but as of right now, there is very little that I've seen that makes it stand out from Trails in the Sky first chapter. At the same time, I've only played the prologue in chapter 1 thus far, so that's to be expected. This felt more like me shaking off the rust and getting back into the groove. I was missing that familiar loop of fulfilling requests and learning more about the world through its rich story and characters. The unique turn-based battle system has been a joy to come back to. That still shines as a very fun and engaging aspect of that game. Oh, they also added fishing! Like they took the story event fishing spot from the first game and they turned it into something you can just do in the world! Oh, that is what I call improving my life with quality gameplay. Best new addition thus far. Being a year away from first chapter, I might replay some portions for the new lines and also to refresh myself on the story since the synopsis can only do so much. And if you're interested in Trails, please play chapter 1 first. Even the title screen might spoil some things. I don't know, man, I'm scared now. I've mentioned this on the channel somewhere before, but as somebody who really enjoys Bandai Namco's Tales of series, I really feel like a lot about this game scratches an itch that I've been feeling for a while now. And what else can I say? It's been a real good time for JRPG fans right now. Just not for my time management. How am I going to finish all these games coming out? Pour one out for Fire Emblem and Trails fans who have to choose between second chapter and Fortune's Weave on release day. It is rough out here. But that is all for now. Are you picking this game up too? Are you a longtime Trails fan, or are you also getting into the series like myself? Has my lack of knowledge in the Trails series insulted you yet? Please let us know down below. I promise I'm sticking with the series. It's just going to take a minute. Many minutes. Alright everyone, take care of yourselves. Till we meet again.